Somebody pick the perfect time to vacuum the house. Hello. Hello. My name is Carla de Guzman. I'm a romance writer from the Philippines. And today we are going to talk about all the books I read in the month of June. I don't know if you're following this channel. If you are, thank you so much for following, but I have been the worst poster ever. Like, I keep saying, oh, I'm gonna post every Wednesday, but I don't. I never know what to post, except these monthly things. Oh, and I even put on makeup already. Usually, I put on makeup and then talk about the books. Mega fail, but well, we're gonna take what we have. So let's talk about the month of June. I don't know if it's because it is both like the Cancer and Gemini and Cancer season kind of mixed together or whatever, but I read so many books. It will seem like I read so many books, but I actually just DNF'd a lot of them. I don't know, I'm just feeling so petty. Like, I feel like I don't have time for bad books anymore. Like, I don't care. I'm such a badass. Without further ado, these are the books I read for the month of June. So the first book I read for the month of June was Stay a Little Longer by Lanuza. I didn't actually read the print book. I listened to this on audiobook because I do have a subscription with Scribd, which has been the gift that keeps on giving. Can I just say, Kaleo Griffith, oh my god, that man's voice is very nice. You want to close your eyes and listen to the audiobook. I haven't actually read a novel from Dawn. I read What About Today, which was her YA novella about these two kids in a theme park, which I really like. But this was the first time I actually read like a full romance novel by Dawn. They meet each other when Katie jumps out of her family's home in San Juan and jumps into Ilan's car, and she's like, drive me to the airport. Ilan and Katie have this dynamic that really reminds me of Ethan Hawke and Julie Delpy in the Before Sunrise movies. I think that kind of helped me visualize the kind of dynamic Ilan and Katie had, which has the theme of like, it's a long ass conversation that neither of them really want to finish. For me, Ilan and Katie's biggest problem was that they talk, but they never really say anything. Because they're enjoying this conversation with each other, they're skipping the important parts of relationship building that I'm kind of used to, which was nice to read from this. But it comes to a point later on where we're at the very climax of the story and they still haven't discussed the important things, and you're like, you guys, obviously there's a problem. Like, by the time you get to the conclusion, you're kind of frustrated that, well, yeah, all of this could have been solved if you just actually talked to each other, which usually I'll be like, I don't like that. But this one kind of worked well for me. But at the end of the day, this is a romance novel, so everything that should end up happily does end up happily. And I kind of like the conclusion. It's a kind of conclusion where, thank God, this worked out for the both of them in this really fun book that I enjoyed very much. So this is The Lost Art of Keeping Secrets by Ava Rice. It's basically, it's a YA book before YA books were an actual thing. It's about the 17-year-old girl named Penelope Wallace who lives in London in the 1950s, and she meets this girl named Charlotte. Charlotte turns out to have this whole extended family of hers, and Penelope gets into that whole thing, and she meets this boy Harry, who is a magician, and you know, he kind of gets into a fake dating situation with Penelope to make this girl Marina jealous. So these are all tropes that I didn't really know when I read this the first time, and I was kind of hesitant to read this again now because, you know, knowing the things I know, would this book hold up? And thank God it kind of does. It does. It really does hold up. It's still as wonderful as I remember it being, but even more wonderful now because I've kind of understand certain things more. My favorite part is when she and Harry are lying down in one of the long galleries of her house called Magna, which I imagine is basically Downton Abbey. They lie in one of the galleries at Magna, and there's a hole in the roof, and it's raining, and they're watching doves fly from Harry's jacket into the roof, and they're just having fun together. And It's very, you know, it's London in the 50s, not a very popular time, but it's still enjoyable. And on top of that, it's a fake dating trope. Like, how can you not love this? After The Lost Art of Keeping Secrets, I kind of switched gears and went to 14th century China. I didn't actually get the My Fair Lady reference until like I after the first chapter. Long meets Yan Ling, who used to work at a tea house, and he kind of recruits her to replace his sister to become a princess, to be married to someone for the political gain of China, from what I understand. The book kind of really goes into detail in what 14th century China, I don't even know if it's 14th century, of that old century of China was like. I kind of picture certain things in my head that I don't know if they're right. It's in my head, it's like a mix of the Fire Nation and Avatar. Nope, it's the Fire Nation and Avatar in my head. That's what it is. The tension between these two characters, it's very appropriate for the time, where they have all these feelings but they never really tell each other until all those emotions burst and like, oh, and it's beautiful. I really enjoyed this one, clearly. The conclusion, I think there could have been a way to make the conclusion a little more obvious to everyone but the characters, because I really enjoyed this book. I'm kind of looking into reading another book from Jeannie Lin. If you have any recommendations, I would love to know. I really like this one and I'm excited to read more. I don't know if this is the right term or if it's the same term that Tara Frejas uses, but this is Stay With Me by Tara Frejas, and I would call it a companion book to her latest release, Play It By Ear. At the start of Play It By Ear, which I don't think this is a spoiler, most of the band members of the East Gen project get into an accident, and Fee is part of the accident. So from what I understand, she sustains was it a sprained ankle or a broken ankle? But something happens to her ankle and she needs someone to take care of her. And of course, perfect boy of the year, Gabriel Park, steps up. And he basically offers for her to move into his place and he can take care of her. And if you like Gabriel Park and Fee Legaspi being adorable with each other, oh my god, this book is that and more. Because it's mostly about, you know, the adjustment of a person, like, coming into your space and you coming into their space, like. And Tara has written a sex scene and I'm so proud of her. Guys, can we please encourage her to do more, because I like it. I like this new trend for you, girl. Okay, I'm going. Remember how I said that I was being petty this month? So this next book was one of those petty reads of mine. I read the first 9 chapters of Waiting for Tom Hanks by Kerry Winfrey. Guys, it just did not work for me. Okay, and I love Tom Hanks. You've Got Mail is one of those quintessential movies of my childhood. It doesn't necessarily hold up in 2019. All of the references in the movie seemed dated, forced and dated, especially when you have movies like To All the Boys I Loved Before or Always Be My Maybe. We even have like the female Ghostbusters. Like, all of these things could have been referenced in this book, and I think I would have liked it more. When she meets the actor guy from the movie, like, I don't understand how she would think that he's an asshole when on page he seems like a nice guy. It just didn't work for me, and the audio especially didn't work for me because the person reading was kind of bubbly and peppy and not very 28-year-old like. Was she 28? She was pretty up there in age, I remember, and her voice was really like, oh, like, I go to the coffee shop and It just didn't work for me. I just couldn't get into it, so I DNF'd it. I finished The Symphony of Seduction by Christopher Lawrence. And my only conclusion is composers are awful people. Awful, awful people. It's okay, I asked my lit sister about this and she said it's fiction because it's basically actual things that happened to these composers, but written in a way where the author kind of embellishes it with short story. And can you imagine the absolute disaster of a guy writing love stories? This entire book is that awful. I would rather just have read these, you know, these basic stories off of the internet, because reading it in this format just made me really mad at these composers. Don't pick up this book if you like music. My god, it's awful. Speaking of things that I can't dedicate time to, oh god, I'm DNFing these books like left and right. The moment I heard about Minnie Darke's Starcrossed, I thought, well, this is a great idea for a novel. It's about a girl who writes horoscopes for a newspaper, and the guy who believes in them, and she doesn't believe in horoscopes, but she kind of writes the horoscope so the guy falls in love with her. And it's a really cute premise, except I realized that this book isn't a romance, it's actually women's fiction, which means the writing is different. And I'm talking the fact that the book starts the day the characters were born. It's a long introduction about the stars aligning and the, you know, even though there's the sky, there's the troposphere and the stratosphere and the other outer sphere. The author names all the spheres, but the stars are still there. And then while there are stars, there are moments, and then planets, and then all those planets align, and then this guy is born. But then thousands of miles away, like not so far away, miles away, like there's these two people having sex, and oh, that's our main character getting made. The actual story starts when the main character goes to work, and at work she meets all this variety of people. So we meet, maybe, I felt like I met 100 people at her workplace, mostly white, except for this one Japanese character named, gosh, her name was very Japanese. And she sees the main character and she's like, oh my god, your dress, so kawaii. Kind of uncomfortable. Japanese people don't talk like that, and they definitely do not tell you that your dress is kawaii. They'll say it's cute because they can speak English. So it was just very uncomfortable. So I stayed on because I really wanted to like this book, and I stayed on, and then I got to the point where gosh, I really cannot remember her name. The main character meets her guy, and her guy is in a fish costume. I have a feeling that Minnie Darke does not think very highly of people who believe in horoscopes, because that is, like, that's the vibe that I got from the book. Like, you know, I like horoscopes, so I felt very attacked. And the author made it sound like all of Nick's problems was because he kept following these horoscopes, and it made Nick seem a little delusional and not at all attractive. So, like, my thinking is, why would why would Ate do this if Nick is that much of a loser to her? It made no sense. And also, she has conversations with her own brain. I don't know if this is like, I don't understand this editorial choice, but the main character literally has conversations with her brain. Like, I told my brain, see, I told you, he remembers you. But then my brain replies, no, he doesn't. That's weird. Like, it's a little weird. Like, it makes reading it very hard. So after the second brain conversation, and after that super judgmental scene with Nick, there was no reason for me to go on. And super sayang. I really wanted to like this one. It's just not for me. So now I feel like I'm ending things on a negative note, because very clearly I'm in a reading slump. On my Scribed account, I have Burn For Me, the Hidden Legacy novel by the first book in the Hidden Legacy series by Ilona Andrews. I feel like I need to reread it just because I need the good vibes. And I'm currently at the 9th book of the Kate Daniels series, and it's getting so scary that I am terrified to keep reading. It's really freaked me out lately. So I think I need to remember what it's like to have a more lighthearted Ilona Andrews novel. So I'm going back to the Hidden Legacy series for now. On that very happy note, that's the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. And I don't know when I'll see you next, but it will probably happen at some point. Bye!